So people are asking me, how did you find out about your melanoma, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you look at some of my pictures from back 2016, 17, 18, up to this year, the beginning of this year, I had this little bump that I just hated. I called it my twin because as time or years went by, it was growing. I thought it was just a basic, kind of like a wart. Because like I said, if you look at the pictures from back then, you can see it. And I used to cover it with makeup, and things like that. Well, I went to my doctor. I asked him for a referral for a dermatologist. He did it. I went to dermatologist. He said, no, that's cosmetic. That's a cherry mole. Insurance is not covered. Does not cover the removal of cherry moles or scars or blah, blah, blah. So I went home. I decided to use that freeze off for warts. I decided to use Mexican little gels to take off the warts, and it just wouldn't heal. So I left it alone. Years went by, covered it. Finally, in April, I believe, I decided to get Botox. I've never would have went to a house called Botox Party. It was Botox and cocktails. But, I said, you know what? Something told me, my neighbor asked me, come over. I said, I wasn't thinking of going, but at the last minute, something in my head just said go. As soon as I walked in, I see the ladies. They have their Botox on, and some of them had little caritas, like little cherry moles that were burned off. And as soon as my Botox Depot guy, he's my angel, by the way, saw me, he looked at me and he goes, I can take that off, which he was referring to my cherry mole angioma. It's called cherry angioma. Because I can get rid of that. And I had a whole bunch right here, like 8 of them. And I said, you can? I said, okay. He said, how much? He goes, $40, whatever it was. So, he burned them off. This one, he burned it off and he went quite deep, and he was surprised. He's like, you didn't hurt. You handled it so well, blah, blah, blah. So, I can smell the burning flesh. It was just, terrible. So I went on with my Botox and, blah, blah, blah. Well, days went by and it was just not healing. So I didn't know, should I ask him? Should I call him? What? So finally I did. I sent him a picture. He goes, you know what? Maybe I didn't go deep enough, and come in. I'll do another round. I'll burn more of it. He's looking at it and he's like, have you had this checking out? And I said, yeah, but they said it was cosmetic. He goes, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that happen. Some angiomas, they just won't cover them. He goes, but you really should get this. He goes, I've seen these before, but I've dealt with them. I'm like, okay, give me the truth. Have you been able to get rid of them? And he said, yes, I treated them, blah, blah, blah. But he goes, I think you should still see your doctor. I said, again, my doctor will not touch it. He said it's cosmetic. And he goes, you know what? This is what he told me. I'll tell you what. I'm willing to pay half if you go somewhere and get it checked out. Get a biopsy. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. I said, no, I've been there. They dismissed it. Just go ahead, zap me up. So he did. He numbed me up. That shit hurt like hell. But anyways, I think I would have rather done it without the injections, the numbing, because that shit hurt. But anyways, so he numbed me up and I could smell the flesh burning. I mean, he went in deep. He's like, okay. He goes, okay, blah, blah, blah. Keep putting the, what was it? Whatever it was to heal it. So a week went by and I said, you know what? It's just not healing. So I thought, I'm going to send a picture of this to my doctor and tell him this is what it does. And it really did. Sometimes it would be so red and purple, especially when I was under the sun, that it would just be so red and so bloated that sometimes it would burst and it would bleed. And angiomas don't or the cherry molds don't really bleed. Not the way this one did. My pillowcase will be soaked. So I sent him a picture and he said, oh no, you need to come in. I said, well, you saw me like 2 or 3 years ago, and they said, no, it's cosmetic. He goes, you know what? The referral's good for 3 years, I think it was. So I'm going to send it. I get the phone call. I go in again. As soon as the dermatologist walked in, he's like, you know, here's the paper. Well, the assistant gave me the paper. Cherry angiomas are not covered by insurance, you know, blah, blah, blah. You probably have to go outside. All the same BS from years before. So he walks in and he looks at me. He's like, it's nice to see you again. Weren't you here a couple of years ago? I said, yeah. He goes, well, you know, let's see it. So I put down my mask and he just looked at me. He goes, well, yeah, I guess we can see something about it. But again, insurance, if it's not, you know, if it's not anything bad, you know, insurance can't cover it, and you're going to be left with a huge scar, and that cannot be fixed. You're going to have to go somewhere else, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, just so he goes, okay, well, all right. Remember, you're going to have a huge dent in there. I'm like, okay, you know, so he goes, okay, let's give it a go. He still was dismissing it. So this was on a Monday, and by Wednesday, I get the phone call. All I heard, you know, is this Ms. Sedano? May I speak to Ms. Sedano? Yes, this is her, blah, blah, blah. We got your test results back from your biopsy, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as I heard skin cancer, melanoma, I went numb. I mean, everybody thinks, oh, you know, it's just skin cancer, it's just melanoma. No. My next door neighbor died of skin cancer. They didn't know that her brain cancer came from a mole on her arm. So we'll talk about that later. So I just went numb. I mean, I could hear him. I know he was talking to me, but I wasn't listening, you know, that kind of thing. So I just heard him. My son was by the stairs. I went numb. And he's like, what's wrong? And at first I didn't want to tell nobody, but you know, I thought, no, I have to say something. So I told him. He panicked, you know, what do? Do you want me to stay home? Do you want me to call off? No, I'll be okay. Of course I wasn't. I kept thinking, it's my mom. But anyways, so, but that's how it happened. It's all out of Vanity that I found out I had skin cancer because I wanted Botox. Now, going back to my next door neighbor, she was this sweetest little lady. Sometimes she needed a little bit of help getting out of bed, and I'll come over, and her daughter Lori would tell me, you know, my mom says you're the only one who can take care of her, nobody else. I mean, I adored her. And when my next door neighbor saw me with the bandage, she goes, what happened? You know, because it was a big bandage. What happened? I said, remember, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, it turned out to be melanoma, skin cancer. And she goes, oh, that's what my mom died of. And I said, no, your mom died of brain cancer. She goes, yeah, it started on her arm. We didn't know it. And it traveled to her brain. And by the time we found out, it was already too late. She only lasted a week after they found out. So in my heart, I think, seriously, I think that Mark, the Botox guy, was sent by Lila, my next door neighbor, to make sure that I didn't die of skin cancer like she did. So, thank you, Lila. Thank you, Mark, from my Botox guy. I'll see you soon. Hey, lady, can you slow down? Okay, I'm careful. I can see, but anyways. Okay, so that's my story. That's how it went. So I'm telling you all, ladies, wear sunscreen. Make sure you wear a hat everywhere you go. I have mine back here. Wear a hat, make sure you buy the makeup with SPF on it. Instead of going outside in the sun for a tan, you make sure you go to my tan lady. Haley is wonderful. So that doesn't mean you can't tan anymore. Just be extra careful, you know, extra sunscreen. I carry mine. I have mine with me all the time because it's an awful feeling. It hurt. It hurt like hell. You can see the pictures. It hurt. He told me that I was not gonna have movement. Hopefully I would, but he didn't promise because he went in deep. It was called the MOHS, M-O-H-S surgery, and he's the best. I don't remember his name, is kind of weird, so I'll look it up. But I'm happy. I'm happy. So check your skin, okay?